Hi, this is Jack Schaub, and this is Chiller Service Advice, a videocast designed for the curious observer to the seasoned HVAC professional. It is episode 7, titled What is Superheat and How is it Measured? Now, last episode, I talked about subcooling, and that change of state from a gas to a liquid was done in the condenser, and that's the subcooling part of things. And in this case, we're talking about superheat, and that occurs in the evaporator. Whether it be a chiller or refrigeration unit, that's where that occurs, and that's where the refrigerant that goes in through the TXV as a cold liquid changes from that cold liquid into a cool gas before it goes into the compressor. So superheat in itself is really just a measurement of that temperature change going from a liquid into a gas before it goes into the compressor. So for instance, and we'll use an example here of R410A, and if you're looking for superheat, you're going to end up using your low side gauge, not on the high side, just on the low side. So for this example, we're going to have R410A refrigerant, and it's going to be running at approximately 115 psi. And if you look at your temperature ring for 410A, right at 115 psi, you'll see that the evaporator temperature is right about 38 degrees. And that 38 degrees is our first data point, and it is our coldest because that's where the refrigerant, when it comes into the evaporator, is its coldest, and it is a liquid. So then we're going to measure another data point with your fluke or infrared on the suction line as it exits the evaporator, but before it gets to the compressor. And in this case, this example, we're going to measure that it comes up at 48 degrees. So there are your two data points. So we go from the 38, which is where our pressure saturated is, and the 48 degrees. And the difference between that is 10. So in this case, our superheat on this particular unit is 10 degrees. Now, superheats can range a little bit, lower and also a little bit higher depending on the application. But what this tells us is that the refrigerant that was a liquid coming into the evaporator has changed from a liquid into a gas and has superheated up approximately 10 degrees, which is, in this case, a safe temperature reading, which will allow us to be sure that there's no liquid refrigerant actually making it back into the compressor itself. So again, you look at your liquid line or your liquid temperature on your suction gauge only. You get your saturated suction temperature. You use that data point and a point on the suction line before it gets to the compressor as it exits the evaporator, and the measurement between those two is actually your superheat. To give you an example, that kind of change, whether it goes from a liquid into a gas, or in subcooling, a gas into a liquid, is occurring around us all the time in the environment. Whether you have a puddle that's evaporating because of heat, it ends up becoming a gas going up into the atmosphere, into the clouds, and from there it condenses as rain and comes back down. So that change of state is occurring all the time, up and down, and that same scenario is happening in your refrigeration system as well. I hope this has helped you figure out what superheat is and how it's measured, and I'll see you next time.